Hello, I'm Kevin Perry, Assistant to the Superintendent, and it is my pleasure to host our Teacher of the Year celebration show. When we take a moment just to recognize those persons that have been selected as the Teacher of the Year for their schools. They represent an educational field of over 4,000 employees here in St. Lucie Public Schools, and it's our opportunity just to celebrate with them. We have at the show today from Palm Point Educational Research School, their wonderful Teacher of the Year, Miss Allison Perry. Miss Perry, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. She's brought along the dynamic assistant principal, Miss Dana Markowitz, who's sitting in with us today. Miss Markowitz, welcome.
Thank you.
As I told you, this is a Teacher of the Year celebration show. Miss Perry, I don't know if you know, but I was the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools many moons ago. So I still get excited when we have an opportunity to celebrate teachers, to celebrate education, and those that represent all the wonderful employees in the district. I think we're blessed to be in a district that still knows the importance of recognizing and celebrating educators. With that being said, we all know you as a fantastic teacher, but many of our viewing audience may not know you. So would you take a minute and just give us briefly your educational background?
Of course. So I grew up in a very small town in upstate New York. I attended college at SUNY Plattsburgh, where I received my bachelor's degree in childhood education and then went on to receive my master's degree in literacy education. From there, I found my way here to Florida and found and very proud to be here at St. Lucie Public Schools and at Palm Point for the last 10 years. I formerly taught 4th grade for about 5 years, and I'm now in my 5th year of being an instructional coach for grades 3 through 5.
Awesome, awesome. Welcome to Florida.
Thank you.
You didn't have to worry about that snow, did you?
It's nice and warm here. I love it.
Ms. Markowitz, just in case some viewers don't know you,
Sure.
would you please briefly introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Dana Markowitz. I am one of the proud assistant principals at Palm Point. This is my 2nd year as an administrator, but my 12th year in education. I also had the pleasure of working alongside Miss Perry while we taught 4th grade together, and we're instructional coaches together, so I'm super excited to be with her here today.
Awesome. Again, welcome. And with a name like Perry, you have to be very dynamic. I'm already claiming it.
Perfect.
So tell me, Miss Perry, how excited were you when you first found out that you were the Teacher of the Year for Palm Point?
I honestly was thrilled. It's such a humbling accolade. I am very excited to be able to represent our school and all of the wonderful things that we do. I was over the moon.
Tell me, have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher?
Yes, truly always have known. It's really at the core of who I am as a person.
So when you think about who you are, as you say, at the core as a person, thinking back, was there someone that inspired you to become an educator or continues to inspire you?
Absolutely. My 2nd grade teacher, Mrs. Griffin, really played that inspirational role for me. I remember just being met with such positivity and such positive energy when I entered her room each and every day. I remember I sort of struggled as a reader when I was at that age, and I remember her sort of taking the time to just sit and read with me. And I remember one specific memory. We were sitting and reading, and I got stuck on the word between. And she was so motivating and so positive, giving me little prompts along the way. And by the time I actually decoded the word, she celebrated me like I had just won an Olympic medal. Like,
awesome.
It was such a nice feeling, and I really attribute that to why I wanted to be a literacy major in college. She really instilled that love of reading and made me feel like I could do it. And even being from a small town, I was able to go back to her classroom when I got older and stop by and visit in high school, and she just always had such positive energy and such kind words for me that she made me want to be that for our students now.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin.
Wherever you are.
Yes.
So, just in case, well, I know everyone doesn't know, briefly explain the role of this instructional coach.
Yes, so I'm fortunate to work with the teachers specifically in grades 3 through 5. We spend a lot of our time planning engaging lessons, reviewing data, really considering and brainstorming what will work best for our students. I also get to spend a lot of time in their classroom seeing the innovative strategies that they're putting in place, which allows me to still get that student-to-student interaction as well, but also I'm able to sort of collect ideas to share with other teachers throughout the school and provide professional development on things that our teachers need support with. So it's really a great role to be able to work with teachers, administrators, parents, and students. It sort of encapsulates it all.
Cool. So, Ms. Markowitz, you have the pleasure of watching Ms. Perry work each and every day. When she's working with teachers and our students, what is it that you see, hear, and feel that's exciting about her?
Well, as I was listening to what she was saying about the teacher that inspired her, I see so much of that in what she does every day. And it's just, the trusting relationships that she's built with the families, the students, the teachers, like it is evident in everything that she does. You know, in her role, I see her facilitating professional development, quality professional development, you know, data discussions, facilitating those conversations amongst her teachers, in and out of the classrooms. And it always is mind-blowing to me that she knows so much about individual students. So that's wonderful to see around the school too.
In addition to that, to be the Teacher of the Year, they're heavily involved in activities on campus. What else might we find Mrs. Perry being involved in that helps the school work?
She certainly helps the school. I say that she's the backbone. She's my right hand. I have the pleasure of working so closely with her, but there's an extensive list of activities, but she is our PD liaison, so she helps support, create, deliver those effective strategies for teachers to take right back to their classrooms. She is a new teacher mentor. She's also an adult mentor to a student as part of our I Succeed initiative. She leads our writing committee, which throughout the years has helped increase our writing achievement. Let's see, the literacy team, she helps conduct reading rounds with us and help provide feedback to teachers and to have those discussions about what we could improve in literacy. She's on faculty council. She's in and out of teachers' classrooms helping to support. I mean, she is involved in all grade level events, can't forget about those, and with families, tutoring. I mean, the list goes on and on.
So let's just say she's everywhere.
Everywhere.
So, Ms. Perry, we're coming to what I call post-COVID, but COVID helped us all evolve in one way or the other. And in many instances, we learned some things from COVID. How have you evolved as an educator post-COVID?
Well, honestly, in so many ways, I've gotten a lot more tech savvy, to be sure. Aside from that, I really think that one of the things that we learned from COVID is just how important it is to check in with one another and not only help each other through the tough times that we were experiencing. You know, now we're in the phase of like trying to fill in learning gaps and whatnot. So supporting teachers through that right now has been something that has been really something that has been a focus for me, is working with those teachers to help overcome those gaps as it stands right now and really just connect with one another on a personal level and make sure that we're reestablishing those connections from being disconnected for so long.
As the instructional coach, you're in and out of classrooms, and a lot of those teachers may be first-year teachers. What advice would you give to a first-year teacher or someone that you know that's thinking about becoming an educator?
I think that being a first-year teacher is one of the most overwhelming things that you can do. And one of the biggest pieces of advice I would say would be to be okay with asking for help, because that can be something that can be really difficult to admit when something is a struggle for you or that you're having difficulty with. And I think that if we really open those doors for admitting when we're having a tough time with something and breaking down those barriers, that's sort of step number one. So admit when you need some support. Also, really just being flexible and being open-minded about knowing that there is always going to be something new in education that you're going to be learning and implementing, and really just sort of having that never arrived attitude and embracing it all with flexibility.
Ms. Markowitz,
Yes.
describe Ms. Perry for me using 3 adjectives and tell me why.
All right. So I gotta think of 3 best ones that she deserves. Let's see. And so I would have to say passionate. Her passion and love for teaching and learning really shines through every single thing that she does. And going back to the conversation about the pandemic, she really meets those challenges and uplifts others in such a positive manner, and her passion is contagious. So I think that has really helped our school culture and climate. Dedicated. I can go on and on about how dedicated she is. I mean, that should be her middle name. But she truly is dedicated to the success and the continuous school improvement at our school. Always going above and beyond, a lot of times extending herself past the school day, volunteering her own time just to, jump right in and be willing and able to help at any given time. Always meeting it with quality and efficiency as well. And then detail-oriented, Mrs. Perez always says the details matter. And details are no stranger to Mrs. Perry. So I think that, everything, whether it's academics or fun, because she brings so much fun and engagement to our school, she always meets it with thinking about every single detail, having that global view of our school, and making sure those don't go unseen, and they truly haven't gone unnoticed at our school.
So, Ms. Perry, I'm going to flip the script on you. I asked Ms. Markowitz for 3 adjectives to describe you. Passionate, dedicated, detail-oriented. If you had to have an educational hashtag for Allison Perry, what would your hashtag be? Hashtag?
Oh boy. Hashtag put your heart into it. Really, just putting your heart and your energy and your effort into the work that you do day in and day out is really what I try to keep in mind each and every day. That the heart matters, the relationships matter, and that's what I got.
Put your heart in it. And I think that's how Ms. Markowitz actually described you in her adjectives and everything that you're involved with on campus. We're moving toward our last couple of questions, okay? Tell me, when did you first fall in love with teaching?
I don't know if there was a definitive moment where I fell in love with teaching. Like I said earlier, I feel like I've always known that I wanted to be a teacher. But I think that one of the moments that really stands out to me was in my first couple of years. I was teaching 4th grade writing, and I had a student who struggled. Like, she would sit, look at the paper, and have no idea what to write about. And I tried to assure her that time and again, we'll get through it. We'll pull out all our thinking maps, we'll synonyms, everything that we can, and you will get there. And time and again, she just had a hard time with writing. And I will never forget, after lots of work together, lots of small group work together, she sat down to do her next writing test, and she wrote her heart out. And she came to me afterwards and showed me what she did, and I'm telling you, we jumped up and down, and that was the moment, seeing how excited and how happy she was and feeling that confidence for her. That was the moment that I knew that, this is where I'm supposed to be.
As the Teacher of the Year for Palm Point, you're automatically their educational ambassador. You may have an opportunity to speak with lawmakers, to parents, to community members, school board members. You have 60 seconds. What's your message?
My message would be to really invest in our students, invest in our kids, that the time, the energy, the finances when available really matter. They make the difference in the day-to-day that we put together for our kids and the work that we do, and that our students need not only the people in the school, but they need their families at home, they need their support systems in the community, and showing that investment in their education will make all the difference for us in the future.
Ms. Markowitz, thank you for joining us. Ms. Perry, thank you for letting us celebrate you and have this opportunity to introduce you to our viewers. Congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year, and we're looking for some great things.
Thank you so much.
We are St. Lucie Public Schools. We are accoladed, recognized, accredited, merited. We are innovators, builders, career-driven, future-forward leaders. We are community-focused, partners, mentors, contributors. We are historic, unique, extraordinary, admired. We are champions, energetic, competitive, game changers. We are artists, dancers, designers, musicians. We are diverse, inclusive, collaborative, empowering. We are caregivers, protectors, supportive, attentive. Today's learners, tomorrow's leaders. We are St. Lucie Public Schools. Hello and welcome again as we have the opportunity to welcome to our show today Mr. Sean Lewis, who's the dynamic Teacher of the Year over at Parkway Elementary. Mr. Lewis, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
He's brought along our wonderful friend, Miss LaTanya Green, who's the fantastic, proud, wonderful, marvelous principal over at Parkway. Ms. Green, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us, Dr. Perry.
Now, Mr. Lewis, you know I get excited every time we have an opportunity to do the Teacher of the Year highlight show. I was Teacher of the Year for the school district many moons ago, but I think it's great that we work in a district that still knows the importance of celebrating educators and education. Many of our viewing audience may know you, but just in case there's somebody watching that needs to be introduced to the wonderful Mr. Sean Lewis, briefly give us a little bit about your educational career background.
Well, I'm born and raised right here in Fort Pierce, Florida. I went to elementary school at Parkway Elementary. I graduated from Westwood High School. I went to Indian River Community College, and I went to FAU, where I mastered in where I got my degree in education.
Where did you graduate high school?
Westwood.
Westwood.
Yeah.
We gotta give a shout out to the Panthers now. Because once the Panther, always the Panther. We know that. Miss Green,
Hello.
Introduce yourself.
All right, as always, I like to start with I am the proud principal of Parkway Elementary School. I also matriculated through St. Lucie Public Schools, went to our elementary schools here, and I graduated from Lincoln Park Academy, go Greyhounds. I left here and I went to Florida State, so go Seminoles. And then I received my master's degree in school leadership from Nova Southeastern University.
Make sure we get those shout outs to Westwood and to Lincoln Park. I don't want to get a phone call saying, Dr. Perry, you know. So, okay, good job. So, Mr. Lewis, how excited were you when you found out that you were the Teacher of the Year for Parkway?
I mean, it was really just super exciting. It's my first year there, and I've been given all in since day one, and it was just a breath of fresh air to be recognized right off the gate. It's
cool.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about your educational career, have you always wanted to be an educator?
No, I actually went to Westwood. I was in their veterinarian program because I had a love for animals. So that's where I started.
So when did you make that change and become an educator? And do you think as you look back, there's someone that inspired you to become an educator?
Well, I was in the middle of, my beginning courses, and I was doing some coursework and stuff. And my stepdad, he is in his 54th year of teaching. He has taught 44 years in St. Lucie County, and I started doing some coursework in his classroom. That led to me seeing his love of teaching and seeing things grow. He said, if you like it, start subbing. Well, guess where I started subbing? At Parkway Elementary.
Wow.
In Miss Krieger's class, I believe it was. 3rd grade. And that's where I love the relationships I was building with kids, even from the beginning. And that's where I knew I had to make a switch.
Cool. So, Ms. Green, you have the wonderful opportunity of seeing Mr. Lewis, the science guy, as we call him, work his magic every day with students. When you visit the classroom, what is it that you see, hear, and or feel?
Oh, no pun intended, but the energy in the class. Mr. Lewis just referenced that his first year at Parkway and attending elementary school there. I always say to individuals that we interview, or when we speak to individuals interested in coming to Parkway, is that it's more than just a professional investment. It's a personal investment. And that comes to life when Mr. Lewis is with his colleagues, with the students, with the parents, and his energy just throughout. We have students that are in 5th grade now, after coming off so many years with the COVID and the illness and just so many mental health things and traumatic experiences that are happening with our students. He's been able to really just build that bridge and build those relationships with students. And I see kids that would have never even thought to be engaged in learning, or just didn't feel that desire, have that motivation, he brings that to life by actually participating with kids. He works alongside kids. So he's not just the teacher or the instructor delivering the information or giving the information. He becomes almost like a student with his students in that classroom, and he sit there and he does those lessons with him. He puts his time and that energy in there, and kids, what I hear from 5th grade, they're his favorite teacher.
So let's carry on this idea of participating. To be the teacher of the year, that person doesn't just stay in their classroom. They're all over the building, helping the school work. Tell us what other activities we might find Mr. Lewis involved with.
Everything, everything. You know what? One thing, you know, that's just the dynamics and the nature of good teaching. You find yourselves, even when you're not wanting to be in those positions. He is our grade group chair. He's over for 5th grade. He always jumps in to lend a hand with his after school activities. We just recently had a literacy event where it was something kind of science oriented that he brought to life with our literacy superhero theme. So with our after school activities, we also have a group that we work with, one of our local churches, Discovery Church, and they have an after school team up program that this wonderful gentleman to my left oversees that group, and it's awesome. We have so many kids that are signed up, and it's just a nice bridge to have between our community and with our school. And one thing that I have to mention, as we all know in education, sometimes the funding gets a little tight. It's difficult to do so many things that you want to do for your staff, for your students. One of the things that Mr. Lewis just came in one day and said, hey, my church is willing to donate. So fully funded and donated items for our Thanksgiving meal, gifts to our teachers, always willing to lend a helping hand. And he is the person that oversees that and facilitates that connection that we have.
Yeah, that's what happens when you are the teacher of the year. That's the behavior of those persons. Many opportunities will come to you to inspire others as you have been inspired. If you had an opportunity to speak to someone thinking about becoming an educator, or maybe a first-year teacher, what advice would you share with them?
I actually got the privilege of working with a first grade teacher at St. Lucie Elementary this summer, and what I told him exactly was, I want you to be a sponge. I want you to, you know, find your veteran teachers, find the people on your team that you can sync up with and build relationships with. And you got to delineate some information, but take that information, make it your own, and grow from it. Don't think you're all on your own on this, because in a school, we're all a team together. So I remember him having his first day, and it was a whirlwind for him. And then moving forward, it was, you're right. I mean, the kids, they're there, and all the tools I need are there amongst my team. And so he embraced his team and moved forward, and it's just, he's having a great year.
A couple of questions that I want to tie together. How do you involve families in ensuring that their children are successful or in the educational process?
Well, I am constantly talking to my family, to my parents, and they are my support. Without them, I can't do everything I'm doing in the classroom. And it doesn't mean that they're helicopter support. They're helping me to achieve what I'm doing in the classroom. They're reinforcing my expectations. My expectations for myself are really high, and even the same for the students. So I'm constantly communicating through Class Dojo, phone calls, internet, any way I can to let parents know what's going on with their kid and how they're achieving success in the classroom. Like, I praise them. You know, we gotta call and let them know the awesome things that are going. But I always have a light touch with it. We can't go in with all the negatives. No, every student we've ever encountered, there's always something positive they can bring to the table. The parents can usually help bring that there.
Let me talk to you about COVID. It has caused us to all evolve in one way or another. How have you evolved as an educator post-COVID?
I would say definitely more technology. Because we had technology, I mean, I was already heavy in technology, but really gravitating towards things like Panda Science and different platforms that I was able to teach kids through that when COVID. Now I'm able to utilize it in the classroom. I know at the beginning of the year we were utilizing things from COVID just to make things work to the fullest in the classroom. So I took things from COVID and still implement it now today as I see fit.
Mrs. Green.
Yes.
Describe Mr. Lewis for me using 3 adjectives and make sure you explain why you chose those 3.
Only 3.
Only 3.
3. Well, I'm going to go with one that's definitely an easy plug for Mr. Lewis, but passionate. He's definitely passionate about what he does, and I think that helps with that energy and that ownership of it as an instructor, and just looking at it from the lenses of kids, because he is so passionate about it and what he puts into it. And as we all know, is you're gonna receive what you put out.
Correct.
And that lends itself to his passion. And I'm gonna say magnetic would be my second one. As we started earlier with this interview being the first year at Parkway, and being able to bring some of that energy, the kids, the parents, the teachers, they just gravitate to him, and it's that magnetic energy that he has so naturally to get people involved, to get people on board, to be first year at Parkway and being the grade group chair. That doesn't happen, like every day, and when people are transitioning and kind of changing and becoming new team members at different schools. And the last thing I would say, since I only can name 3, is reflective. Mr. Lewis is reflecting before I even get a chance to reflect, before he even brings it to me. If he's found like a problem, he's come up with a solution, he's reflected on the solution, whether it comes, whatever assignment we're going to give the kids, whatever project we're going to be doing. He is always in that growth mindset of being reflective about his instructional practice, and as a result of those 3 things and so many other things, so many other adjectives we can use to describe him, we see the result in that with the output from children, what we're getting from our students through their academics, through their social-emotional, through the partnerships with our families. All of those things have come to surface and manifest through him being the person that he is.
So, Mr. Lewis, I'm going to flip the script on you. Ms. Green gave me 3 adjectives. If you had to have an educational hashtag for Mr. Sean Lewis, what would your hashtag be?
Well, I'm not a big Twitter guy, but my hashtag would be never give up.
Hashtag never give up.
Never give up, never stop. And I say that because that's what I do in the classroom. From the second the kids enter, and I take pride in that. My backside doesn't hit the chair, and I'm teaching, I'm all feet running as soon as the kids come in till they leave. I'm engaging and giving them everything I can possibly give them. So hashtag never give up.
Never give up. Mrs. Green, what makes Mr. Lewis the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
Because he does not give up. He does not give up. He has set high expectations for himself. His vision and his mission and everything that he brings to the classroom and to the world of education aligns itself with what we believe in St. Lucie County. And as cliche as it may sound, that all kids are capable of success and no exceptions. He is the epitome of a walking hashtag of that alone, and ensuring that our kids are getting the best because they deserve the best regardless of what school they are at. And he gives this all, and it's a personal investment for him. And I believe as a principal, or I know as a principal, that those things with so many other things, like I said earlier, will make him the best Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie County.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Lewis, finish this phrase for me. The world needs.
I think they need more educators that won't give up on kids. We don't cut corners. I mean, what do we always say, Ms. Green? If it's in the best interest of the kids, it has to be it's not always going to be the easiest for me. So it's just going all in.
I love if it's in the best interest of kids. As a principal, I said if I err, if I make a mistake, I err on the side of the child. The child wins.
Yes.
And that's very important that we behave in that manner. So, Mr. Lewis, Teacher of the Year for Parkway Elementary School, you are automatically their educational ambassador. You have an opportunity to speak to community members, maybe the school board members, policymakers, families. What's your 60-second message to them about education?
My 60-second message is that the the soul of education is children, and it's building relationships with kids. And I would say that we never have to lose, we can never lose focus of that. Because we're not in there, like Ms. Green said, I'm not in there just instructing and walking away. I'm getting them ready for 6th grade. I'm getting them ready academically and socially. And I'm getting them ready just, you know, to get over the fact that somebody said something to them they didn't like. So it's just constantly moving them forward. And so what I say is constantly move forward in the fact that you know that your kids, they need you. They need someone in the classroom that will never quit and never give up on them. And that's what we have to give. We have to give it nonstop. And I do it because God gave me the tools and the ability to do it, and I'm putting it to work.
Let me just say thank you to both of you for joining us as we celebrate teachers. Mrs. Green, thank you for being here. Mr. Lewis, thank you for being here, and congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year for Parkway Elementary School.
I appreciate that very much, Dr. Perry.
We are St. Lucie Public Schools. We are accoladed, recognized, accredited, merited. We are innovators, builders, career-driven, future-forward leaders. We are community-focused, partners, mentors, contributors. We are historic, unique, extraordinary, admired. We are champions, energetic, competitive, game changers. We are artists, dancers, designers, musicians. We are diverse, inclusive, collaborative, empowering. We are caregivers, protectors, supportive, attentive. Today's learners, tomorrow's leaders. We are St. Lucie Public Schools. At this time, we want to welcome to our Teacher of the Year Highlight Celebration Show, Miss Amy Crossland, who's the Dynamic Teacher of the Year over at Port St. Lucie High. Welcome, Ms. Crossland.
Thank you.
She's brought along with her my very dear friend, Nicole Talese, who's the proud principal at Port St. Lucie High School. Ms. Talese, welcome.
Thanks, Dr. Perry.
Ms. Crossland, I get excited, so you may see that, so don't worry about it. Don't be offended. Don't be afraid. But many moons ago, I was the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools. So I'm delighted that we still work in a district that still celebrates education and educators by introducing some of our teachers to our viewing audience each and every year. To help further introduce you to our viewers, briefly give us a little bit about your educational background.
All right. Well, I graduated from St. Lucie County. I went to Fort Pierce Central, graduated in a year that I'm not going to name, had some outstanding teachers there, and then I went to Indian River State College, where I got an associate's followed by a bachelor's in education, because I wanted to be a teacher, obviously. Then I got my master's degree in psychology from Capella University.
So we have to do this. We love doing this. Let's give a shout out to the Cobras right now. Cobra's in the house. If we don't do that, we'll get in big trouble, okay?
Go Jaguars! Go Jaguars!
But yeah. We'll celebrate the Cobras, the Jaguars as well. Ms. Talese, briefly introduce yourself for us.
Okay, obviously, I'm Nicole Talese. I've been in education for a little over 20 years. Started as an elementary special education teacher in West Palm. Moved to St. Lucie County in 2006, where I taught middle school. Then I was the assistant principal at Southport Middle School and the principal, and this is my first year as principal at Port St. Lucie High School.
Great. So, Ms. Crossland, tell me, how excited were you when you found out that you were the Teacher of the Year for Port St. Lucie High?
I was ecstatic. I really wanted it. This is my 10th year teaching, and I've been nominated a few times, but I did not win. And when they walked in, my first reaction was just like, stop, pure joy. But then my second reaction was embarrassment because we had a dress-up day and I was dressed up as Joe Exotic.
So
Right.
of all days.
Of all days, the days I wear a mustache to work is the day that I'm Teacher of the Year. Yeah.
So I heard you mention because I wanted to be an educator. Have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher?
When I was first starting college, I was a little unsure. And I was like, okay, let me get my main courses out and I'll test a few things. And then I met a teacher when I was there, a professor, and she kind of inspired me more or less to take the route that I took. she was a very, very, very big influence on me and had a huge impact on my life.
So share a little bit more about that, because I was going to ask you, do you think there's someone that inspired you to be an educator?
Yeah, at Fort Pierce Central, Lisa Stewart was, she was like the reason I graduated, honestly. And at IRSC, Sandra Van Vorst, I don't know if y'all know her, she was like a mother to me. She mentored me. She would not let me give up on myself ever, even when I wanted to. And the impact that she made on me, like, I will forever be grateful for. So she really was the one that inspired me to do what I do. And she's always in the back of my mind when I have bad days and I want to give up. You know, like, she wouldn't have gave up. You know what I mean? Like, she was my rock. So.
You know, you brought a smile to my face because earlier when you were doing your introduction, you said, I won't say what year.
Yeah.
I taught Lisa Stewart.
You did a good job. She's wonderful.
Thank you. She is wonderful.
Yeah.
I do totally agree with you. Ms. Solis,
Yes.
you have an opportunity to see Ms. Crossland in action every day. When you visit the classroom, tell us about the energy that's there.
Sure. Well, I was just in there today, actually, and I would say when you walk in, you immediately notice that there's just a really well-structured environment where the kids are very clear on the expectations and they're all engaged in the learning process. I would say that you hear her, you're either going to see detailed, direct instruction, or you're going to come in for some cooperative learning, and the kids said that was one of the things they appreciate most about her class, that they get the opportunity to learn together and to talk and to experience. She infuses her own unique brand of humor in the instruction, which the kids seem to really appreciate, and helps them relate to her and then better relate to the content. And you can just see that she deeply cares for the students as individuals.
In addition to that, persons that become Teacher of the Year generally are involved in other aspects of the campus. They just do things to help school work. What else might we find Ms. Crossland involved in at Port St. Lucie High?
Well, this year she's an intricate member of our faculty council, so she helps us with all of our continuous school improvement planning efforts. She also sponsors our GSA club, and she supports the 9th grade activities planning team.
Cool, cool. Always involved.
Always involved.
If you had an opportunity to talk to someone that was thinking about becoming an educator or a first-year teacher, what advice would you share with them?
I would tell them to not be afraid to reach out for help. I think first year is very intimidating, and I think first year teachers often feel pressure to pretend they have their act together when we all know what a struggle your first year is. I look back at my first year and I'm like, wow, can't believe I did that, you know? I would recommend that first year teachers look for a mentor to help guide them, and to carefully choose a mentor who radiates positivity, because once you've been doing it for so long, it's very easy to become jaded and negative, and you don't want that kind of an influence.
Over the past couple of years, we have moved past what I like to phrase post-COVID. COVID made us evolve as individuals, as educators. How do you think you have evolved post-COVID as an educator?
Well, I definitely improved my technology skills. Technology's not my strong suit, but when we were going virtual, I had to be extremely creative and find a whole bunch of different ways to make those lessons engaging when I can't even see the kids because they won't turn their cameras on, you know? So I think that entire situation helped me evolve with my technology skills, my engagement skills, and really with my just personal relations with the kids. It kind of forced me to have conversations with them like, how are you? Are you okay? Let's talk about SEL, you know? It really encouraged those kind of topics.
Ms. Solis, describe Ms. Crossland for me using 3 adjectives and tell me why those 3.
Okay. I would say knowledgeable, caring, and authentic. Knowledgeable because she knows more about science. Like, she probably has more knowledge in her pinky than I have in my entire body. And she really cares about it. Like, she'll come to my office, and so the first time I met her, she came in talking about her ideas for a chicken coop on campus. But she's just super excited about her content. Caring because everything that she does with the students, she really operates from a place of caring about them as individuals and not just a child in a seat. And then authentic because even when I was talking to the kids, I asked them to describe her. And everything that they said and how they described her, funny, engaging, caring, they went through all these adjectives. it's truly authentic to who she is, whether you encounter her in the lobby of the school or out somewhere or at an event or in the front of her classroom. She teaches the way she is. You know, it's not a show for her.
I
So,
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Ms. Crossland,
Yes.
3 adjectives from over there, but if you had to have an educational hashtag for you, your personal hashtag for Amy Crossland, the educator, what would your hashtag be?
Probably hashtag you're right.
Hashtag you're right.
Yeah.
Cool, cool, cool. So, Ms. Talise, what makes Ms. Crossland the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
I think it's that she's just the right blend of relationships and rigor. She cares, like I mentioned before, as much about her students as she does about the content, and they feel that. So even kids who wouldn't naturally be engaged in the biology content, they care because of their relationship with her. And they tell me, like, she just makes me want to come to class. So I think it's finding that balance between having a relationship with the kids and being really excited about what you're teaching them.
Cool, cool. Ms. Crossland, when did you first fall in love with teaching?
Honestly, before I even got to the classroom, I would say. I was involved with FFEA, like the Florida Future Educators of America, and I'd go to conferences and I would see, you know, Teachers of the Year and things like that get up and motivational speakers, and they were just very like inspiring and passionate. And when I would go to those kind of conferences, I left with like a fire lit under me. Like it gave me a passion for it, if that makes sense.
It does, to me. So let's carry that just a little further, that passion that lit a fire under you. What is it that fuels you, drives you today?
Honest, this is gonna sound funny. You know, most teachers would probably have a pretty generic answer for this one about like, oh, making a difference, impacting. I like the challenge of the kid that no one can reach. Like when I can get through to that kid that doesn't show up and goes to sleep in every class, and the kid who just doesn't feel seen by anyone, when I can make that kid feel seen and I can make that kid perform, that to me is like hitting the jackpot.
Cool.
Like I love that challenge.
Understand that as well. So, as the Teacher of the Year for Port St. Lucie High School, you are automatically their educational ambassador. What's your message to your public?
My message is you're right. So whether you believe you can do it or you can't do it, you're right.
Cool.
So
Cool.
you have to have a growth mindset, and you have to take fails in stride and never give up on yourself or one another.
Thank you both for joining us today. Ms. Talise, thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Ms. Crossland, thank you for being here, and congratulations on your selection as a Teacher of the Year
I appreciate
at Port
it.
St. Lucie High School. And I know you wanted to get it in because you were sneaking over there. Go Jags.
Go Jags.
We are St. Lucie Public Schools. We are accoladed, recognized, accredited, merited. We are innovators, builders, career-driven, future-forward leaders. We are community-focused, partners, mentors, contributors. We are historic, unique, extraordinary, admired. We are champions, energetic, competitive, game changers. We are artists, dancers, designers, musicians. We are diverse, inclusive, collaborative, empowering. We are caregivers, protectors, supportive, attentive. Today's learners, tomorrow's leaders. We are St. Lucie Public Schools. Hello, and it is my pleasure to welcome to our Teacher of the Year highlight show at this time, Miss Edleen Villard-Bird, who's the wonderful Teacher of the Year over at Francis K. Smith Elementary School. Miss Villard-Bird, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Perry.
She's brought along with her my very dear friend, Miss DeJean Jackson, who's the proud principal over at Francis K. Sweet. Miss Jackson, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm
Great to be
excited
back
to
with
have the opportunity to speak with both of you today. One, Miss Villard-Bird, is because I was Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools, so I value and I'm happy that we work in a district that still celebrates teachers, education, educators, and one of the ways that we do that is through this show. In addition to that, I was the assistant principal at Francis K. Sweet many moons ago, so near and dear to my heart, both of those things. But, you know, to help our viewers get to know you a little better, would you give us just briefly your educational background and how you became the wonderful Teacher of the Year, Ms. Villard-Byrd?
Okay, Dr. Perry, I am a graduate of Lincoln Park Academy.
Okay, go Greyhounds. Let's get that out of the way right now. Go Greyhounds.
Yes. Then I went to school to the University of Central Florida. The thing is, before there was a Promise to Promise candidate, well, let's just say I am a Promise to Promise candidate before there actually was Promise to Promise candidate. When I graduated, that was not available. The thing is, before graduating, I used to volunteer in my mother's classroom. And there I seen how she was so impactful with students in the classroom. So when I went to school and I came back, I stated to myself that I want to have that same commitment and work with students within my community and being impactful in their lives as well. And therefore, with the nudge of my mother as well, I went into the education field. So therefore, I continue my education with Ashford University, and I am now still continuing my education with the Florida Atlantic University and the elite program where I'm studying educational leadership, where there I am committed to working as a team lead with my own team, and where I'm expounding on setting high expectations for my team, and where that is shown in our data as well.
Cool. Ms. Jackson, briefly introduce yourself as well.
Well, hello, viewers. I am a proud product of St. Lucie County. I went to many of the schools that are no longer in existence. Port St. Lucie Elementary, gone. And I went to John Carroll before moving and graduating from Miami Norland Senior High, but I was drawn back to St. Lucie County and continued education at USF, go Bulls, and then Florida Atlantic, where I graduated and continue to work with elite students such as Ms. Byrd and continuing that education.
Cool. So, Ms. Villard-Byrd, how excited were you when you found out that you were the Teacher of the Year for Francis K. Sweet?
The first word would be shock. Because when they were making the announcements, I was the person going around with my camera, taking pictures of everyone, just celebratory for everyone else. So when they said, Adeline Villard-Byrd, I paused. And I was like, me? Because I'm just a cheerleader for everyone else. So for me, stepping behind the camera, being the cheerleader, and coming in front of everyone else, receiving the reward, I was in shock, but then definitely just happy and excited, and just with so much gratitude that my peers, my colleagues, that they would just think of me and to accept such a high honor.
Cool. So you kind of alluded to this when you were doing your intro. So I'm going to ask a question and then a follow-up that I think I know the answer to already as well. Have you always known that you wanted to be an educator?
Well, the thing is, I've always been a helpful person. My first thing was, I was like, I'm going into the business field, but I always found myself doing things within the community, educating students, helping with homework, always giving them bright ideas, because I started as a marketing major. And then even though marketing is so broad, my thing was to help motivate other people's businesses. But then in education, what do? You help build on others' dreams to get them to where they want to be. So with that same capacity in education, I do the same thing with my students. I get to know my students, I know what their dreams and aspirations are, and I help them set those goals, and we develop that action plan to get them to where they need to go.
Would you think that there's someone along the way, and I heard you mention someone, that actually inspired you as you look back to be an educator?
There's a collective environment of individuals. So I don't want to name everyone, but I will definitely honor my mother. And the reason why I say I will honor my mother is for the fact, one, she was one that always have motivated me and pushed me and say, go into the education field. And because when I was volunteering into her classroom, one thing that I seen was, let me state that my mother, she worked with students with disabilities. And they varied across the classroom. When I would go in from month to month, I seen how the students would improve over time. And the thing is, from the time they came in, my mother had such high expectations. Her and the teacher in the classroom had such high expectations for the students. And they never let off with them. And one thing that they did that I didn't see amongst other classrooms were they had make and takes where they invited parents in. And this was a ritual that they did every month. So even when the parents came in and did these make and takes, they allowed the students to teach their parents what they learned within the classroom. And to me, that was so valuable. So to see where the students started off and see how they're progressing just blew my mind. I stated, I want to be just as impactful with the students that I am involved with.
So, Ms. Jackson, you have the opportunity to see this impact on a regular basis, day to day. Share with us what it is you see when you visit Ms. Willard Bird's classroom.
When I visit her classroom, there is definitely an acknowledgement of individual learning, but goal orientation. Students are working in small groups, and they always know exactly what to do. In addition to that, that cheerleader is not just reserved for colleagues, for parents, it's also for the biggest cheerleader in the classroom for each of the students is Mrs. Willard Bird. She celebrates success with the kids. She pushes them and makes sure that they are reaching their fullest potential, and we are truly blessed and honored to have that. In addition to that, she always makes sure that the parents and the families are partners in their child's education, knowing where their students are, having conferences before, after, on the phone. That's just all within her repertoire, her toolbox to reach each and every child.
In addition, Ms. Jackson, when you are the Teacher of the Year, you're generally involved in many aspects of the campus. What else might we find Ms. Willard Bird doing that just makes Francis K. Sweet the shining star that it is?
In addition to the leadership that she demonstrates on a regular basis, she's heavily involved at FAU. In addition to that, and that takes up a lot of time, but I don't think she ever sleeps because the involvement with committees, making sure new teachers have that mentor, that aspect of what do I do? Making sure the curriculum is understood, involving integrating technology, all of that is wrapped up in this beautiful package you see right here.
So, Ms. Willard Bird, she mentioned new teachers. If you had an opportunity to give advice to a first-year teacher or someone contemplating becoming an educator, what would you share with them?
I will tell them it's the best field to get into. And the thing is, I will tell them, keep the course. It's a learning experience. And I will let them know, take all the advice and support that you can receive, and let them know that it's not an easy journey, but let them know that it's so impactful that you were chosen to shape young minds.
Cool. Ms. Jackson, describe Ms. Willard Bird for me using 3 adjectives.
Ooh, that's a tough one. She's a learner. That's one. She soaks up things like a sponge and makes sure that hits her students. She's so humble. And you hear her kind of downplay many of the successes, but that humbleness is definitely the benefits are reaped by her students. And in addition to that, she is one of those quiet storms that impacts all around her. So that thirst for knowledge, that cheering spirit, and that quiet storm all make up. And I know I kind of fudged it with the adjectives there, but yeah, I had to expound on some of them a little bit.
That's okay, Ms. Jackson. So, Ms. Willard Bird, I'm going to flip the script on you.
Okay.
3 adjectives from Ms. Jackson. If you had to have an educational hashtag for Edline Willard Bird, what would your educational hashtag tag be?
Make it happen.
Hashtag make it happen.
Make it happen. And the reason why, like I would tell my students, excuses are tools of incompetence. When there's a will, there's a way. Because anytime that they say, well, I can't do it, I say growth mindset all the time. I help them develop an action plan. Well, if we have this blockage, guess what? We're going to develop a plan to go around it. Excuses are tools of incompetence. We're not accepting that. Let's make it happen.
All right. So, Ms. Jackson, what makes Ms. Villard-Bird the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
She is the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year because she doesn't realize how great she is. You know, usually master teachers don't realize the impact that they have, and that reflection, that refinement, and that relationship that is developed with her family of students is what makes her the outstanding Teacher of the Year, not just for Francis K. Sweet, but she could take the United States because she is just that great. I'm putting that out in the atmosphere.
You put it out there.
I did.
You put it out there. Sow that seed. So, Ms. Villard-Bird, you automatically are the ambassador for education at Francis K. Sweet. In that position, you may have the opportunity to speak with many different people. What's your educational message, your 60-minute, your elevator speech about education to others?
About education to others, one thing that I'm definitely passionate about that is a factor of achieving, closing the achievement gap for students is relationship is key. In order to build relationship, in order to educate students, you have to know your students beyond their name. Know what your students' interests are, what motivates them, and then also go beyond that. The families, know the families, make that connection with them because the families are the first teachers of your students. And once you build that community with them, then once you build that rapport with them, then you now have a community, and that student will see, and that family will see that we are all in support of that child.
Ms. Villard-Bird,
success.
Ms. Jackson, thank you both for joining us as we highlight and celebrate our Teachers of the Year. Ms. Villard-Bird, congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year at Francis K. Sweet.
Thank you.
Best wishes for a wonderful year.
Thank you.
We are St. Lucie Public Schools. We are accoladed, recognized, accredited, merited. We are innovators, builders, career-driven, future-forward leaders. We are community-focused, partners, mentors, contributors. We are historic, unique, extraordinary, admired. We are champions, energetic, competitive, game changers. We are artists, dancers, designers, musicians. We are diverse, inclusive, collaborative, empowering. We are caregivers, protectors, supportive, attentive. Today's learners, tomorrow's leaders. We are St. Lucie Public Schools. At this time, we're pleased to welcome to our Teacher of the Year highlight show, Anna Babcock, who's the wonderful Teacher of the Year over at Fairlawn Elementary School. Ms. Babcock, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
She's brought along the very dynamic, wonderful principal there, Ms. Ricksecker. Welcome.
Thank you.
I get excited every time we have an opportunity to do this show, number one, because I was the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools, and I'm just so elated that our district continues to celebrate educators and education, and this is one of the methods that we do it. I'm also excited to speak to both of you because I was an interim principal over at Fairlawn Elementary School for a while, so I'm just excited again to have that opportunity. Many of the viewers may know you, but some may not, so if you would briefly share with us your educational background.
So I am third generation from Fort Pierce, born and raised. I finished my bachelor's in education and master's in reading at Florida Atlantic University, close by.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to John Carroll High
John
School.
Carroll, okay. St. Lucie native, Ms. Ricksecker?
I am also a St. Lucie native. I am a graduate of Lincoln Park Academy.
Go Greyhounds, let's get that in.
Absolutely. And then I went and did my college career at the University of Florida, and this is my 18th year in the school district.
Great. So, Ms. Babcock, tell me, how did you feel when you first found out that you were the Teacher of the Year for Fairlawn?
I was absolutely shocked. They surprised me because Miss Hawkins and I run our morning announcement show, and we film things around the school. So we were with Miss Ricksecker and Miss Reed filming the what was it? Distinguished Minority Teacher of the Year and the school-related employees. So I knew about those and who to film, and I'm pushing the camera around, and all of a sudden they're like, all right, let's head to the next classroom, and I just start walking ahead, and they turn the camera on me. And so it was an absolute shock, but such an honor. I haven't been at Fairlawn too long, so just for that, for my colleagues to nominate me and choose me, really meant so much.
From behind the camera to in front of the camera.
Yes, it was very awkward because I'm usually behind it.
So tell me, what is your position at Fairlawn?
So at Fairlawn, I am the K-5 teacher of high achieving and gifted currently.
Cool. So, Ms. Ricksecker, you have the opportunity to visit this work every day. What happens when you visit Ms. Babcock's class?
I mean, from the moment you enter the room, everything is so different. There's flexible seating everywhere. The kids really take a part in owning their learning. Everything that they do is hands-on. They create a lot of the engaging lessons. There's a lot of technology involved. I get to see it from a staff point of view, from a parent point of view as well, because she does teach my boys, so I get to see both ends and all the amazing things that they get to do with her in her classroom to really extend their learning outside of the general setting.
Ms. Babcock, tell me, have you always known you wanted to be an educator?
Actually, no. I was actually on the nursing school track, and I realized it wasn't for me, and it's good that I'm not going to give you a shot because I was not qualified for it. But I started the education program, and I fell in love with it. But when I look back, I mean, the signs were there. I was always meant to be an educator. I used to teach tennis during summer camps, during high school and college, and I just loved working with students. I used to tutor other students in high school. So it was always there. Both my parents were educators. My dad was just for a short time, but it was there. I just didn't see it right away. And once I started the College of Education, I just fell in love.
Let's carry that thought a little further. You said it was always there. As you reflect back, do you think that there might have been someone that inspired that thought, that notion?
Absolutely. When I think back, I think of my second grade teacher, Miss Charisse. I just absolutely loved her class. She would tell the funniest stories about her potbelly pig that lived in her house. But actually that year was a very tough year for me. I was actually not doing very well, and they were talking about retaining me in second for reading. So it's left an impact on me, but with the help of my parents and tutors, I got through it. That was the reason I actually pursued my master's in reading. I was like, what happened to me? Why was I, so close to being held back? And, going through that journey, I realized there was a couple things. Comprehension, I just wasn't reading things that were interesting to me, and it was hard to comprehend that information. So I can relate to a lot of students who struggle with reading. So that's kind of why I pursued the master's.
So, Ms. Ricksecker, generally on a campus, if you become the Teacher of the Year, you are involved in many aspects of the entire campus. What else might we find Ms. Babcock doing to help the school run?
Oh, well, anything that we ask her to do, she will do without question. She's very willing and always there to help, but she does run the morning announcements, which have gone virtual and is very exciting, and they've got all the technology set up with a green screen. It's very fancy. Outside of that, she also runs Odyssey of the Mind teams. Last year, her team was world champion. It's the first time in our entire zone from here down past West Palm that we have a world champion beating out, teams from all over the world. So she does Odyssey of the Mind. She's got a team this year again. She helps our National Honor Society students that come over from other high schools to earn their volunteer hours that they need. They just finished doing a memorial garden yesterday. And the biggest thing that she's done at her previous school, Lakewood Park, and here is she runs reading endorsement classes so that other teachers can get their reading endorsement. And she's been running those for many years and helped, over a dozen teachers get their reading endorsement.
Ms. Babcock, what's your favorite part of teaching?
So my favorite part of teaching, with this position that I have at Fairlawn, I get to build really strong relationships with my students because I have them for several years. Some of my students will start in kindergarten first, and then they're with me till 5th grade. So I really get to build a strong relationship, really hone in on their talents or their needs and support them. And then, when they start that next grade level, what's great for me is I just pick up where I left off with them. So it's such a smooth transition every year.
If you had an opportunity to give advice to a first-year teacher or someone thinking about becoming an educator, what would you share with them?
So reflecting back, I always think of a few things. Definitely making relationships, being coachable, and looking at change, being okay with change at times. And what I mean with some of those relationships building is get to know everybody on your staff, like get to know your secretary, get to know maintenance, get to know cafeteria, and don't really talk school, but just kind of get to know them as a person. And building those relationships helped me. If I ever needed them, they were always willing to come help me or support me in some way because I built that relationship. And then being coachable is huge. I wouldn't have survived. January marks my 16th year in St. Lucie Public Schools, and I wouldn't have survived if I hadn't been, open-minded and asked for help. And I wish I could list everybody who supported me from day one to even this day. And then, change. I'm not saying accept change, but just be open to it. At Lakewood Park, I did so many different jobs that, I thought I was going to teach kindergarten for 30 years. I saw myself. But at Lakewood Park, a friend was like, oh, let's try second. I tried it. I loved it. Then an administrator was like, how about reading interventionist? How about instructional coach? And then I taught 4th and 5th writing, which I never saw myself doing because of this one. And I loved it. But if I hadn't just tried it, it was so uncomfortable every time. But I learned so much, and it was so refreshing. And moving to Fairlawn, it was another job that is just refreshing to try and learn a whole nother world.
Ms. Ricksecker, describe Ms. Babcock for me using 3 adjectives and tell me why.
I think I would start with nurturing, not only in the way that she has relationships with her students, but also in the way that she has the relationships with the people on the staff and her ability to try to nurture them, in their educational journey with the reading endorsement. Dependable, because she'll do anything for anyone, but also is just always willing to step up and do anything that you ask or that she sees a need for. And then, just kind. She's the nicest person, and I think most people who meet her see that right away, just in the way that she interacts and is thoughtful and intentional with all of her, acts of kindness. And she just smiles. She's nice.
Ms. Babcock, I'm going to flip the script. 3 adjectives for Ms. Ricksecker. And from you, I'm going to ask, if you had to have an educational hashtag for Anna Babcock, what would your hashtag be?
Spontaneous, and that's just because of Odyssey. It's changed my world. You have to be prepared for everything and anything, and even just the jobs that I've done have been spontaneous. But for Ricksecker, a problem solver. I might even call her spontaneous a little bit. And then she's there for you.
Okay.
I know that's not an adjective.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
I think we understand. I think we get it.
Just what I want to say about problem solver is I think it's been so great to work for administrators that are problem solvers. I always try to solve the problem with, or whatever it is myself. But if I ever have issues, I know I can go to her and she'll find a way. If she can't do it, then she's going to find a person to help me figure out whatever I need at the time.
So, Ms. Ricksecker, what makes Ms. Babcock the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
Yeah, I mean, we could just stick with the word spontaneous. I mean, Teacher of the Year, having achieved something that no one in this district has ever achieved before with the Odyssey of the Mind World Champion is huge. And then her capacity in growing, her fellow educators with reading endorsement. So overall, I mean, she's just well-rounded and well-versed in every possibility as an educator. So
Ms. Babcock, here we go. You are automatically the ambassador for Fairlawn Elementary, the educational ambassador. What's your message if you have an opportunity to speak to family, community members? What's your message?
We were talking about how you're that for sure for someone. If you can be someone's role model, I mean, whoever in the community, I feel like if we can provide every child with a role model or support system, we would see success. So if anybody could come and just support, like similar to Big Brothers and Big Sisters, but just we need millions. And but just that's what I would say. Please get involved. I know the community has, especially with Odyssey, it's really supported us and came out and helped us achieve and get to Iowa, and that meant a lot. I hadn't, had to work with the community as much lately, but when they came out and went over and beyond for us. But yeah, if they could just somehow mentor a student, that would be fantastic.
Great. Ladies, thank you for sharing with us today. Thank you both for being here, and congratulations on your selection as a Teacher of the Year over at Fairlawn.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
We are St. Lucie Public Schools. We are accoladed, recognized, accredited, merited. We are innovators, builders, career-driven, future-forward leaders. We are community-focused, partners, mentors, contributors. We are historic, unique, extraordinary, admired. We are champions, energetic, competitive, game changers. We are artists, dancers, designers, musicians. We are diverse, inclusive, collaborative, empowering. We are caregivers, protectors, supportive, attentive. Today's learners, tomorrow's leaders. We are St. Lucie Public Schools. At this time, we're pleased to welcome to our Teacher of the Year highlight show, the wonderful Miss LaToya Arthur, who's the wonderful, awesome Teacher of the Year over at Savannah Ridge Elementary School. Miss Arthur, welcome to our show.
Hello, Dr. Perry. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for asking. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. She's brought along with her the proud, dynamic principal over at Savannah Ridge, Mr. Roberto Bonsignor. Mr. Bonsignor, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Perry. Thank you for having us.
Again, it's exciting for us to have both of you. We work in a district that unabashedly celebrates teachers, educators, and all that we do. As a past Teacher of the Year for the school district, I get doubly excited because we are still wise enough to know that how important it is. And just some trivia for you. I was the principal at Fort Pierce Magnet School of the Arts, now CAS, but the very first year that it opened at Savannah Ridge.
Oh,
so I was in that back wing, so I'm connected to this Savannah Ridge family that's joined me today. So, Ms. Arthur, we need to introduce you to many of our viewers. So if you would briefly give us a little bit about your educational background.
All right. Well, my name is LaToya Arthur. I am a proud, I would say, student or used to be student of a public school, which would be Miami Carol City. That's where I graduated from.
See, I know it. Orange and black. See, I know it.
Yes, I graduated from Miami Carol City Senior High School. After that, I went over to Broward College for a little bit. I got my associate's degree there. And then I moved on to Florida International University, where I now have my bachelor's degree in primary primary education.
No problem. How long have you been teaching?
I have been teaching over 7 years. With the school board, you guys wouldn't consider, Head Start as teaching, but Head Start is what made me and where I really began to blossom, I feel, as a teacher. And I worked there for about 5 years.
Cool.
And then I'm now here with St. Lucie Schools for 2 years now.
Well,
this is my 2nd year.
Great, great. Mr. Bonsignor, a little bit about your educational background. Extensive.
Yes, I did my bachelor's in New York and my master's at UM in Miami, and I've been in education for 23 years. 14 of those have been at, unbelievably, at St. Lucie County Public Schools since 2008. So I went back and forth, but I ended up here now. This is my home.
Great, great. Again, both of you, welcome. So, Ms. Arthur, tell me, how did you feel when you found out that you were the Teacher of the Year for Savannah Ridge?
I was excited. I was very excited. Honestly, I didn't know that I would even get the award because last year I got Outstanding Teacher of the Year. So I didn't think I would just get this award. I was very surprised when they came in the room. He has a picture of me and I'm like, but I am very happy. I'm actually very proud. I am honored. I'm proud to represent my school. I love my school. I love my administration. So I was very proud, and I'm very happy. I'm excited about it. I mean.
So tell me, have you always known that you wanted to be an educator?
No. I wanted to be a school psychologist. The school psychologist is where I would go sometimes. Well, a school counselor, I would say that is when you go and you get to talk. I love to talk, obviously. But I would go to talk with my counselor, and she just made me feel so safe. There were things sometimes, might go on at home, and you can't really explain that exactly. You have a single parent raising kids by themselves. So that place is where I initially wanted to be. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be like her. I wanted to be able to help kids like how she helped me.
So during the course of COVID, we all kind of evolved. How would you say the teacher LaToya Arthur has evolved post-COVID?
After COVID, I would say that I've evolved because we had to do a lot of online stuff as well. I wasn't at the district then, but I was with Head Start. We had to do a lot of talking to kids, FaceTiming them on the phone. We had to interact a lot without being there. Still had to maybe do discipline over the over the screen, but now, I mean, I think it's wonderful,
So tell me, if you had an opportunity to share with a first-year teacher,
Yes.
or someone thinking about becoming an educator, what advice would you share?
Bonds. I would say build strong bonds with your students. That's my key in social emotional learning. When you're a new teacher, kids want to feel that you care for them. They want to feel loved. And I feel as long as my students know that I love them, I can kind of get them to do what I need them to do, which is what I do. And I love them sincerely. It's not just faking. Kids know if you really care about them or not. So that's what I would give you. Make sure that you build a strong bond and foundation with your students. And then that classroom management piece is very important as well.
So, Mr. Bonsignor, you have the opportunity to watch this magic happen with Ms. Arthur every day. Share with us what it is you see when you visit the classroom.
I see very high engagement. I see high expectations. She doesn't let kids get away with anything, but she does it in such a way that it's not so demanding. It's like in a very soothing, motherly way. Those are her kids, truly, those are her kids. And it's because of that bond and relationships that she has built with the students. So she gets them to where she needs them to be by probing them. And if they give a wrong answer, she works around that and kind of, and acknowledges it. But it takes them to where they need to be. So you could see that connection there. There's a strong connection between the children in that classroom and the teacher.
In addition to that, we know that when you become the Teacher of the Year, it's because your staff members, the other colleagues kind of see you doing other things. What else might we find Ms. Arthur involved in that makes Savannah Ridge the school that it is?
Well, she displays a lot of leadership qualities and no fear of being the first at anything to come up with ideas. She is part of PBIS. She is part of different other committees, math, science committee, that's it. And she is part of also the Martin Luther King committee, which she's really not, but she's part of it because she's working with the girls on the script and what they're going to do at the parade. So she's not afraid to do any of that. And we just had a PD, a professional development, on a Saturday, and she stood up to demonstrate something that she thought was a good idea, and the facilitator said, "You want a job?" He actually said, because she wasn't afraid to go up there in front of her colleagues. So they see her as not just a teacher, but a collaborator and leader in the realm of education of their field.
So, Ms. Arthur,
Yes.
when did you first fall in love with teaching?
I would say when I first saw how it made me feel when I taught a kid something or I tried to show a concept and they were able to grasp it. I would say I fall in love with teaching actually a lot still. I still do now because sometimes you're a little frustrated. You're like, I don't know if I want to teach. But then, like today, we had math, and math is this new Savage math is obviously not as easy, especially for first graders. And this concept of them knowing how to change, tens to ones, and it was really difficult at first. And then eventually, one of my lowest students were able to get it, and it was just like, so inspiring. And my kids wait for me because I do a dance once they show me that reward, and they wait like, oh, that's her dance. She's gotten it. Like they've gotten something right, and they're doing well.
So what with that in mind, what is it that drives you? What's your fuel? What fuels you to go in and continue to make that difference every day?
Their innocence, they need an education. And I know in the past I've had teachers when I was younger, and I didn't feel cared for, so I didn't care about school. I didn't do well because I didn't really know that it meant anything. But I let them know that it means something, and it means something to me, even if they're not in my class anymore. When they go off to, wherever they're going to college, I tell them to keep these thoughts with them wherever they go. So it's really, that's what I think holds me.
Cool. Mr. Bonsignor, 3 adjectives, please, that describe Ms. Arthur, and tell me why you chosen those 3.
Just 3.
Just 3.
Tenacious.
Tenacious.
Warm.
Warm.
And determined.
Determined. Want to elaborate on those?
She doesn't give up on anything. She knows what she wants, and she will build a case for you on the things she wants. And so I have to be ready when she comes to me. Sure. Do you think? And I have to sit down and then give it some time. But that's then the warmth. But there's also, I could feel her authenticity in it being for the best of the children.
Gotcha.
Not about her.
Gotcha.
And determined, that goes with the tenacious. She's determined to get what she wants. And then if she doesn't, she understands why, she will come to her senses. She would understand, and because we've had very great discussions. I see her as my daughter. If you see the picture when she found out, the hug she gave me, I was looking at her, I was like, oh my God. Because she is at that age that she can be. So that's why there's that connection. When I grabbed her coming from Miami, it was a very good move. Mm-hmm. This is her 2nd year there, and she was outstanding first-year teacher the first year. Mm-hmm. And the 2nd year, she is the teacher of the year. So that speaks volumes.
A win-win, win-win.
Yes.
So, Ms. Arthur,
yes.
Let's flip the script. He just gave me 3 adjectives to describe you. I want you to tell me, if you had to look at LaToya Arthur, what would her educational hashtag be?
I would say love and kindness.
Hashtag love and kindness. Mm-hmm. Awesome. That's what he's saying that you bring to your students each and every day. So, Mr. Bonsignor, what makes Ms. Arthur the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
She thinks about everything around her. She takes it from her environment, as you heard, to the classroom, to the community. She is involved in the community with church and even overseas, and which I just learned about. but she is, everything she gets involved with, you will know it has her touch.
Cool, cool. So, Ms. Arthur, you are the Teacher of the Year for Savannah Ridge. That automatically makes you their educational ambassador. If you had the opportunity to speak to community members, maybe our school board members, what's your message to them?
I would say social emotional awareness and making sure that we're kind. That's my real foundation. That key piece, that making sure that they feel safe, because you know that hierarchy is very important. If I have a student that's coming to school and didn't even eat anything, it's going to be hard for me to teach them anything. But then that love and that safe space might just have them this moment. You know what? Let me go ahead and try to learn that. But I would definitely say for the community that we definitely need a lot of social emotional awareness, because as they get older, they're not able to handle their feelings as much, you know? And I want them to make sure they know how to handle their feelings. And once you're able to handle yourself, then you can think educationally, you know?
Okay. Both of you, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining me today and for sharing. Ms. Arthur, congratulations on your selection as Teacher of the Year. We're so glad to celebrate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are St. Lucie Public Schools. We are accoladed, recognized, accredited, merited. We are innovators, builders, career-driven, future-forward leaders. We are community-focused, partners, mentors, contributors. We are historic, unique, extraordinary, admired. We are champions, energetic, competitive, game changers. We are artists, dancers, designers, musicians. We are diverse, inclusive, collaborative, empowering. We are caregivers, protectors, supportive, attentive. Today's learners, tomorrow's leaders. We are St. Lucie Public Schools. It is my pleasure to welcome to our show at this time as we highlight the wonderful Teachers of the Year here in St. Lucie Public Schools, Ms. Stephanie Ramirez, who's the Dynamic Teacher of the Year at Westgate K-8. Ms. Ramirez, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we're excited to be here with you. She's brought along my very dear friend, my brother, Mr. Jason Martin, who's the proud principal there. Mr. Martin, welcome, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Again, it's exciting for us to have this opportunity to speak with both of you. Ms. Ramirez, I was the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools many years ago. I'm excited and that we work in a district that is still honoring and celebrating teachers, educators, and all that we do. And one way that we do that is to introduce the Teachers of the Year to our viewers, because they represent the other 4,000 educators that are here in the district. So with that, let's give them just a taste of your educational journey, what brought you here, and we'll start with your educational bio.
Okay. So I am a fellow New Yorker, grew up there, generations. My mom grew up there, grandmother, and I went to school in Queens at Grover Cleveland High School. It's not, it's definitely, sorry.
It's okay.
So I grew up in Cleveland. It's a very highly diverse school. It was beautiful. I loved going there. I got into the arts there. But educationally, a lot of students struggled. I struggled as a student. I was never taught how to write essays. I had teachers that were so lovely. It would help me. There was a after-school program that allowed me to take college courses. I really saw the benefit of wanting to go higher in my education, but I also wanted to give back. I struggled through my education. I was undiagnosed with ADHD and a reading disability. Finally, when I entered college at CW Post Long Island University, I went for art education, and I really learned how to help myself. I learned how to be a better to become an educator. But I really wanted to meet the needs of all types of students, not just those who struggle academically, but using art, which I went to CW Post for art education. and you wanted to use art as a tool to help students learn how to express themselves and tap into who they are, because they're learning that. And I love having those art lessons to help them through. After I went to CW Post, I taught for a few years, moved to Hawaii for a little bit. I taught at Honolulu Academy of Arts, came back. I started working with nonprofits. I ran my own after-school program called Arts and Literacy, but I wanted to do more, and I went for my master's at the New School, Milano Public Administration, for nonprofit management. Did great work, learned how nonprofits are, and took that and ended up going back into the educational field, and just kind of went from a micro to macro, and trying to help consult. I consulted other educational and nonprofit organizations such as Goodwill, YMCA, Salvation Army, helping them provide better quality after-school programming education.
So, Mr. Martin,
Yes, sir.
what about your educational background and journey?
So I was also a fellow New Yorker. I'm now a Floridian. I started my teaching career in Maryland, however, though. So although I graduated high school in New York, I went to college down in Maryland, and I immediately out of college with a physics degree started teaching physics to students in Baltimore. Was there for a few years and moved back to New York because I missed New York, and I taught, again, physics there for a number of years. And then 9 years later, I became an assistant principal in Stamford, Connecticut. I was an administrator there for a number of years and then became a principal of a middle school, an awesome middle school there. It wasn't enough for me, so I wanted to be a high school principal, so I went to New York, and I was fortunate enough to be appointed a high school principal out in Long Island. I was there for 1 year before deciding to come down to Florida and take advantage of the lovely weather. And ever since, I've been fortunate enough to be an administrator here in St. Lucie County Schools, most recently as the principal of Westgate, and that's where I met the Teacher of the Year, and that's where I've been ever since.
So, Ms. Ramirez, tell me how you felt when you found out that you were the Teacher of the Year for Westgate.
Oh, I was so floored. I wasn't expecting it. I was honored to receive such an award. I love working with the students. I love having the students create artwork to really bring in school culture and pride, and just bring some color into the hallways. We painted ceiling tiles with positive quotes, and students personalized, creating some artwork on the tiles. We've done murals. Our cafeteria is slowly transforming, where we did a Mustang mural out of using sign language. And students created their hands using different, they did different designs using, learning about different artists.
So tell me,
Sorry.
what's your favorite part of teaching?
I think it's coming up with an exciting idea, and then just showing it to my students, telling my students about the assignment for the week and seeing what they create. And it's phenomenal.
With that being said, when did you first fall in love with teaching?
I first fell in love with teaching actually back in high school. I was taking art classes and drawing, and then I ended up going into photography, and that was my real passion. In the darkroom, there's a lot of different moving parts. You have to learn how to roll the film into the negative reel, and I was helping always assist the teacher. And again, just growing up, struggling academically, I wanted to go into art education.
Mr. Martin, tell me, when you visit the art room, what is it that you see and feel with Ms. Ramirez?
Well, the passion she's talking about is clear. I mean, the kids are always doing some kind of a creative project. They're working on various things that are at their level. You know, you got some kids who are working on, they're on a continuum of skills, so they may be working on something that's challenging for them, might be basic in the eyes of an artist, but, you know, she meets them where they are, and that's what they need to work on at that moment. And there are other kids doing some more complex work. So for me, it's her energy, though, and her passion. When you see her in the classroom working with kids, she's just really excited, and the kids feed off of that. There's a lot of enthusiasm. There's a lot of energy. It's not a, you know, the kids aren't compliant and sitting there. The kids are involved, engaged in the work. They're talking, they're having a good time, but they're also doing the work. And all of that is just, it's a nice vibe in the room. Really.
So, Ms. Ramirez, if you had an opportunity to have a special guest in your room, who might that person be and why?
I think, just taking a moment.
That's okay.
I introduce a bunch of different artists all the time in my classroom. And one of my favorite people that I like to bring up is Frida Kahlo, who is a Mexican-American artist. Her husband, she did portraits, surrealism portraits of herself. The students usually see her self-portrait and laugh because she has a unibrow, she has a slight mustache that she actually emphasizes in her paintings. But then once they hear her story, they become really compassionate towards her. She was in a terrible accident that had her bedbound, and the only subject that she had to paint was herself. So her parents made an easel and she painted, and I would just love for the students to hear her story, because even in that critical condition, no matter what was going on in her life, she still did what she was passionate about. And I think that sends a really strong message to my students when I bring her up in my room. I would just love for her to just talk about her journey to the students.
I thought you were going to mention Van Gogh in his ear. So, Mr. Martin, describe Ms. Ramirez for me using 3 adjectives.
3 adjectives. Well, she is dependable. She takes on a lot of projects. She's also the parent liaison in the building, and it's nice to know that she is someone who does what she says she's going to do. And as a teacher, she's dependable. She's here every day. She's here with the kids. I don't got to worry about, you know, attendance and things of that nature with Ms. Ramirez. She knows how important it is to be in a classroom. So there's dependable. She's is being creative too easy? I mean, is that too easy as an art teacher? I mean, there are text messages coming at me at all times of the weekend and night about ideas of things to either beautify the building, show school spirit, leave a legacy, anything under the sun, and I love that. I like people that are forcing me to have to think about, you know, what we're doing as a school and what can impact the culture of the school, and she's all about that. The last thing I would say is she's selfless, and she will oftentimes take on projects and say yes to things that I know are an inconvenience to her, but she does it because it's for the kids. Cool. You know, and that speaks volumes.
So, Ms. Ramirez, 3 adjectives from Mr. Martin. If you had to give a educational hashtag for Ms. Ramirez, what would your hashtag be?
It would be positive youth development. I really, again, bringing in culture, and I love having my students have leadership skills. Everyone takes responsibility in the art room. It's not my art room, it's our art room. Make it very clear to them that this is our space and how we're gonna use it and respect it. Everyone has a role in my room. Like Mr. Martin said, everyone's moving around, but there's all these chaotic but very structured things going on in the art room. And I just love seeing that. I go to Mr. Martin tons of times with ideas, but students come to me with ideas as well, and I love going with it and supporting them and having them flourish and find a side to them that they didn't even know exists.
Tell me this. You are automatically the ambassador for education at Westgate. Your selection as Teacher of the Year makes you that. If you had an opportunity to speak with our superintendent, our board members, community members, and you have to be the voice for education, what's your 60-second message?
My 60-second message would be to bring students, to have them ready to be modeled citizens in Port St. Lucie, in Florida, and even can go national, international, and preparing those students to me is important. I do it through art. I love to see it done in other ways throughout other subjects, and involving families a part of that process.
Cool, cool. Thank you both for joining us as we celebrate and highlight the Teachers of the Year here in St. Lucie Public Schools. It's been a pleasure speaking with both of you.
Thank you
and
for having me.
congratulations on your success as the Teacher of the Year.
Thank you.
We are St. Lucie Public Schools. We are accoladed, recognized, accredited, merited. We are innovators, builders, career-driven, future-forward leaders. We are community-focused, partners, mentors, contributors. We are historic, unique, extraordinary, admired. We are champions, energetic, competitive, game changers. We are artists, dancers, designers, musicians. We are diverse, inclusive, collaborative, empowering. We are caregivers, protectors, supportive, attentive. Today's learners, tomorrow's leaders. We are St. Lucie Public Schools. It's our pleasure to welcome to our Teacher of the Year highlight show at this time, the amazing Carrie Rocco, who's the wonderful Teacher of the Year over at Rivers Edge Elementary. Welcome, Ms. Rocco.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. She's brought along my very dear friend, Jennifer Ingersoll, who's the fantastic principal over at Rivers Edge. Ms. Ingersoll, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Ladies, it's exciting to have both of you here. As I told everyone previously, we work in a district that still celebrates teachers and education and educators, and one of the ways we do that is through highlighting the Teachers of the Year. It gives us an opportunity to introduce some educators to our public who just represent the other 4,000 educators here in the district. And with that being said, if you would briefly, Ms. Rocco, share with our viewers a little bit about your educational background.
Okay, I grew up in South Florida, so I went to high school in Fort Lauderdale High, home of the Flying L's. And then I went to college at FAU and got my teaching degree, and I have been teaching ever since. This is my 12th year, and I have been in 3rd grade. This is my 4th year in St. Lucie County in 3rd grade.
Great, welcome, welcome. Ms. Ingersoll, your educational journey, background?
So born and raised here in Florida, but actually I came out of Orlando, went to Florida State University, and then I've been working in elementary schools in St. Lucie County for 16 years.
16 years. Wow. I get excited. You may see that. Please don't be offended. But I was the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools many moons ago, okay? And again, celebrating teachers and what we do in transforming our community is so very important to me. But tell me, how did you feel when you found out that you were the Teacher of the Year for Rivers Edge?
Oh, it was overwhelming. It was exciting, but I also felt like there were so many deserving people, that we all work so hard and we all have such a tough job that we do every day. There's so many of us. I think our school is really unique and amazing in that way, that there's so many of us that love what we do, that I felt like so many other people could have deserved it as well. So it was quite overwhelming.
Have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher?
Yeah, I think I fought it for a while when I was younger. My parents were trying to kind of curve me in another direction, said you can make so much more money doing other things. And I tried that for a little bit, and it worked for about 3 seconds.
Okay.
And I realized that teaching was really what I wanted to do,
It worked
and that's
that
just
long.
where my heart was. Yep, yep.
That long. Wow.
And I was like, no, this is where my heart is.
Cool, cool. So when you think back to the heart of the matter, reflecting, do you think there was a teacher or someone along the way that inspired you to make that decision?
Oh, absolutely. My 5th grade teacher at Bayview Elementary, Mr. Nielsen, we called him Mr. Nitzel. He was just incredible. He was so amazing. He had so much energy. He was so dedicated. You could tell he really cared about all of us and wanted to teach us every day. And I just knew, being in his classroom, that I was sold. That was it. That's what I wanted to do.
I was sold by my 5th grade teacher too, Miss Madison. She was amazing, amazing. So, Miss Ingersoll, you have the wonderful opportunity to see the magic happen in Miss Rocco's class every day. Tell us about your experiences there.
So I think the thing that really stands out anytime you go into Ms. Rocco's class is she has her kids engaged. They are chanting with her. They are raising hands. She has a call for them to go from one activity to the other, and they love it. She is a very hard act to follow, as we find out when they, transition from one year to the next. They just love her, and they love learning in her classroom.
Great, great. So to be the teacher of the year, those persons are generally heavily involved in other aspects of the campus. They're like the wheels that keep the campus moving in many different ways all at one time. What else might we find Ms. Rocco helping do at River's Edge?
So one of the things that she is a grade chair, which is an honor at any school, and at River's Edge it is really chosen by the rest of the team. So she's been picked by her fellow third grade teachers to be their leader in representation. Every year we have a school musical, which we love and highlight, and she participates in that and stays after school and helps those kids. Really, she focuses a lot on the singing over there and acting, and so she does a great job with that as well. And just like you say, people who, when you want something done, you find somebody who's already busy. So that Carrie's one of those people. She just kind of pops up when you need something done. She's the person you call on. She's pretty awesome in that way.
Ms. Rocco, if you had the opportunity to share with a first-year teacher or someone contemplating becoming an educator, what advice would you give?
Well, I'm lucky enough to be a mentor for a first grade teacher this year, and the first advice that I gave her is be kind. Be kind to yourself, be kind to the kids, have patience. This is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And there's so much to learn, there's so many nuances of education, and you can't expect to pick it all up in one day. And just be kind to yourself. We are our own worst critics. And just give yourself love and kindness and patience, and you'll get there. It's a evolving profession that's constantly changing. So if you keep that mindset to learn and grow and just be patient with yourself, be patient with your kids, you'll be successful.
How do you think that your role has evolved over the past few years?
Well, when I first came to River's Edge, I was hired as a classroom teacher for third grade. And as Ms. Ingersoll said, I am now the grade chair, and I'm involved in the musical. I'm involved in the NEST program with training the new educators. So I think it's just a natural evolution of the more you're in the school and you get to know and know the district, that you start taking on more responsibility to help the school.
Ms. Ingersoll, please describe Ms. Rocco for me using 3 adjectives and explain why you've chosen those 3.
So it's ironic because as she's been answering, I thought to myself, oh, that was my word. So one of the words I would use to describe her is kind. She really is. She is kind not only to her students, but she's kind and compassionate to her families and to her fellow teachers, which is huge to have that presence on a grade level when it is complicated, especially when you're talking about third grade. And there's a lot of high stakes as a third grade parent and student. And so to have that kindness and settles a lot of emotions, which is wonderful. She's also very energetic. Again, she keeps her kids engaged and excited about learning. And then the other thing I would say about her is she is a solution seeker, right? So education is complicated, but she's looking for solutions, not just identifying problems, which is a huge skill, right? Because that's what you need. Everyone can tell you what's going wrong. Very few people can you trust to help you find the answers, and she's one of those people.
So, Ms. Rocco, let's flip the script. 3 adjectives from Mrs. Ingersoll. If you had to have an educational hashtag for Carrie Rocco, what would your hashtag be? And why?
Hashtag engagement.
Hashtag engagement.
Because I feel like engagement is so important. And like she said, I have my kids doing so many things. We're competing with constant laptops and TVs and things that the kids are so involved in, and they have all of these flashing images in front of them constantly. I feel like for us to keep them engaged is really important because they can tune out like that if you're not paying attention. So I really love all of the strategies that we use for engagement, and I really aspire to make sure that they're with it.
Ms. Ingersoll, what makes Ms. Rocco the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
She really is the total package. When you look at an educator, you want them to be very strong in their curriculum, to know what they're teaching and to teach it well. But to be a Teacher of the Year and to represent your faculty and represent your school, you want someone who goes beyond that and supports the school, her fellow teachers, through NEST, which is our new teacher program, and through faculty council and grade share. That's the total package. It not only serves our students, but the entire body of our Rivers Edge staff. It's key.
Ms. Rocco, finish this prompt for me. I believe.
I believe that teaching is the most challenging and most rewarding job there is out there, and it's the best profession in the world, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
So you are automatically the ambassador, educational ambassador for Rivers Edge. You will have an opportunity to speak to the superintendent, maybe to school board members. What's your message?
My message is that Rivers Edge is the best school there is, and that Rivers Edge is the place to be, and that if you're looking for somewhere for kids to be where they are loved, where they are treated with respect, where they are poured into on a daily basis with love and kindness and knowledge and education and all of the other things that they need, because curriculum isn't the only thing that these kids need. These kids need so many things poured into them on a daily basis, and I feel like Rivers Edge, as I kind of said a little bit before, has so many staff members that are just really there for the kids and ready to pour into them, and I think that's why our school is just top notch.
Ladies, thank you for sharing this time with me. Thank you for letting us celebrate you and highlight you and share you with our viewers. Congratulations, Ms. Rocco, on your selection as Teacher of the Year at Rivers Edge.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
We are St. Lucie Public Schools. We are accoladed, recognized, accredited, merited. We are innovators, builders, career-driven, future-forward leaders. We are community-focused, partners, mentors, contributors. We are historic, unique, extraordinary, admired. We are champions, energetic, competitive, game changers. We are artists, dancers, designers, musicians. We are diverse, inclusive, collaborative, empowering. We are caregivers, protectors, supportive, attentive. Today's learners, tomorrow's leaders. We are St. Lucie Public Schools. Hello and welcome again as we welcome to our show as we highlight the Teachers of the Year, Miss Samantha Lowitz, who's the wonderful Teacher of the Year over at St. Lucie Elementary School.
Yes.
Miss Lowitz, welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Great. She's brought along my very dear friend, Kathy Pentenza, who is the wonderful principal there.
Thank
welcome.
you, Dr. Perry. Thank you. It's nice to see you.
We're so excited again to be able to celebrate teachers and education here in St. Lucie County as we highlight the Teachers of the Year. We know that you represent so many other wonderful educators, and this is just a way of celebrating. As we introduce you to our viewers, give us a little bit about your educational background.
So this is my 5th year of teaching. I am a kindergarten teacher. I have always been a kindergarten teacher in public schools. I was a VPK teacher 1 year, and kindergarten took over, changed my life, and I love it. I don't think about going to another grade. It's just my heart is in kindergarten. I love it. So 5th year.
So is it true that everything that I ever really needed to know
Is in kindergarten. It all
right.
starts, we did a summer thing for our teachers, and we had to come up with a slogan. And kindergarten was, it all starts with us. If you think back to it, it all starts in kindergarten. So it is true, Dr. Prince.
That's okay. That's okay. Miss Potenza, introduce yourself for me, please.
So I am the proud principal at St. Lucie Elementary. This is my 6th year in St. Lucie County. I came to St. Lucie County 6 years ago from Palm Beach. Started my career 29 and a half years ago in Miami-Dade County. So I'm a career educator. I love everything education and wouldn't look back.
So tell me, how did you feel when you first found out that you were the Teacher of the Year?
Oh my goodness, Dr. Prince. Well, I teach kindergarten, so you have to have that mindset. And it was around our snack time. And the announcements went on, and I told my kids, I said, okay, we have to listen. We're rooting for other teachers. And we heard the first 3, and then at that point, my kids wanted snack. So I really didn't hear it. And my assistant principal walked in, and I think I dropped the goldfish, and I looked her, I said, no. And she was just like, yes. I'm like, no. And she was like, yes. And I was so overwhelmed. And my kids were so happy, and just that their teacher was getting something. So it was a very, very, very special moment. I didn't really set in at first either at all, but I did not believe it at all. I did not.
You mentioned VPK and you mentioned kindergarten. Have you always known that you wanted to be an educator?
I have. I knew in 5th grade. I had this feeling that I wanted to make a kid feel the way that I felt, and no matter where life was going to take me, I knew it needed to be with kids. Whether it was in teaching or not, I knew that I needed to be with children. I loved teaching. I was in awe of my teachers, like the whole aspect, the classroom, the connections, the relationships, the creativity. I loved every part of it. And so I knew in 5th grade as a child that wherever my path was taking me, it was going to be with kids.
If I ask you to take a look back, is there someone or multiple people that you think inspired your journey to be an educator?
Absolutely. My 5th grade teacher, her name is Miss Martello. I'm from Sarasota, Florida, so she is on the other coast, and I still talk to her this day. She took a really big chance on me that I don't really feel I had up until 5th grade. And I remember that moment that I said, I want to be you. Like I want to do this for somebody. And I rolled with it, and I played school with my sister in our condo, and I loved it. I loved her. I loved it, and I wanted to be her. I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this one day. And I remember when I first became a teacher, she was the first person I wanted to tell, and she was just so proud of me. And she's a wonderful educator. She's a wonderful person. So she was the biggest educational impact that has been in my life.
As principal at St. Lucie Elementary, you get to see the fun, the magic, the energy in that kindergarten classroom each and every day. Share with us what you see.
Just passion. Passion, I mean, her personality exudes it. She breathes it, lives it. Her classroom comes alive. Challenges that we put in front of her, there are times that, some of our students are more challenging than others in other classrooms. And are not having success in teachers' classrooms. And Sam takes it on. Like, here, put that kid in my class. Like, I've got this. And I'm going to change him and make him that student that she talked about herself as in 5th grade. And we've seen it. I was fortunate enough to be the person that interviewed Sam when she joined us at St. Lucie Elementary, and it was via Zoom. She was still in Sarasota, and you just get that feeling, right? The minute you conduct an interview with a teacher that's a potential candidate in your school, and I was like, we got to get this girl. Like, she just has the passion. She was in her classroom on her lunch break, and just in front of the camera, and just so alive, and just talked about her students in Sarasota at that time with such passion that we needed that passion in our school. And so I could spend hours in her classroom. It's just so inviting. It's a family. She's built a culture of learning for our students, and the students leave her classroom. We were just having a conversation about a student in particular last year that presented some challenges in the beginning of the year, and just to see him walk the halls of our school now in 1st grade, and I told her, it's all you. Like, you did that you molded that young man to be the student that he will be and will be in the future. So.
In addition, Ms. Potenza, we know that the Teacher of the Year is involved, not just in their classroom, but across the campus. Share with us what other activities we might see Ms. Lowitz doing.
Perfect. So Sam, as I mentioned, she joined St. Lucie Elementary last year. And again, you see that passion in someone, or you see that ability to lead others. And so we tasked her this year with being our turnaround CLP leader. Similar to a master teacher role, team lead, but it takes on even, it's kind of the team lead on steroids. So she is the team lead for her kindergarten team, only being in St. Lucie County for the second year, because she just brings so much to the table. She brings pedagogy, she brings instructional practices, she brings building of culture and building of teammates. She's an active member of our instructional leadership team and participates in leadership activities that build the culture of our school and just help, build and foster a love of teaching in others. And she's a member of our literacy leadership team as well that develops and grows all literacy, everything literacy at St. Lucie Elementary.
So when did you first fall in love with teaching?
As an educator or as somebody who wanted to become an educator? I feel like those are two kind of different loves.
You choose your route.
Okay. I fell in love with teaching when I saw a light bulb go off in a student. Like I said, I was a VPK teacher, and I got a wonderful opportunity. I had to take it. I was so scared. I was fresh. I was still in college. I was still going through my degree, and I got hired as a permanent sub. And I was like, what did I just get myself into? And I was just working so hard with this one student, and it was a light bulb just went off. And I said, it was like a feeling, and I said, this is it. Like this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm made to do. And I wanted to make more light bulbs go off for kids, and it's in my gut all the time, every day, all the time. So I think that feeling, I felt that one feeling, my very first year of teaching in kindergarten.
What advice would you give to a first-year teacher if you had an opportunity to share with them?
To take time for yourself outside of the classroom. Miss L is not my everyday life. She is my everyday life from 8 to 5, but I'm Samantha Lowitz on the weekends. So I would say to take time to leave her in the classroom and take time for yourself and not to feel guilty about it. It's okay.
Ms. Potenza, describe Ms. Lowitz for me using 3 adjectives. Tell me why.
Wow. First one would be passion. She's passionate about what she does every single day. She gives 250% every single day of the year, even on days where she's experiencing some of the most challenging students. She took on this year many of our students that were in a self-contained pre-K that came with some serious exceptionalities, and you wouldn't know it. Like her passion just for learning and her passion for her students. Enthusiasm, her personality comes out. She's just bubbly and happy, and a day doesn't go by that she passes by my office and just makes my day. She just brings just such a ray of sunshine, and in today's world we need that, right? We need positivity and we need light, and she is so much that. So I'm gonna say she's also compassionate. She really cares about her colleagues. She takes care of her team. She cares about her administrators. She checks in on us and makes sure we're okay, which doesn't always happen in education, and certainly her students. When she was announced as our Teacher of the Year, of course, we posted it on our social media page, and parent after parent made comments like, oh my goodness, and students that she had last year, Miss L is the absolute best teacher. Miss L made such strides with my student, and to see that passion come out in our parents and our families about a teacher at St. Lucie Elementary just speaks volumes about who she is as a person.
3 adjectives that describe you, Ms. Lowitz. But now, for you, if you had to choose an educational hashtag for Samantha Lowitz, what's your hashtag?
It would be #give them my all.
#give them my all. Is that what you do every day?
Every day.
So, Ms. Potenza, what makes Samantha Lowitz the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
Well, she by far outperforms any teacher in St. Lucie County. No offense to any other teacher, but just kindergarten's difficult. And taking young minds that, especially after living through a pandemic, and many of our students didn't experience preschool. They were at home, they were in front of technology. It was a struggling time for society, a struggling time for parents. She takes these 5-year-olds and turns them into little geniuses. She is just the epitome of a kindergarten teacher. I could only hope my daughter, who is 25 now, had a kindergarten teacher like Miss Lowitz. She's going to change the world. She sets the foundation for students and changes, one life at a time. But not only that impact, but the impact she has on her colleagues, providing the resources and the knowledge that she has and imparting that on them as well.
So, Ms. Lewis, you are the educational ambassador. If you had an opportunity to share with community members about education, what's your message?
It would probably be to give us time, to give us the time that we need to reach these students that we have in our classrooms today. Obviously, I know I only have a year with them, but it would just be to give us time to build the relationship needed to teach them for what comes next.
Thank you, ladies, for joining me today.
You.
Thank you,
It's a
Dr. Perry.
pleasure when we have an opportunity to highlight teachers, and congratulations on your
Thank you
selection.
so much.
We are St. Lucie Public Schools. We are accoladed, recognized, accredited, merited. We are innovators, builders, career-driven, future-forward leaders. We are community-focused, partners, mentors, contributors. We are historic, unique, extraordinary, admired. We are champions, energetic, competitive, game changers. We are artists, dancers, designers, musicians. We are diverse, inclusive, collaborative, empowering. We are caregivers, protectors, supportive, attentive. Today's learners, tomorrow's leaders. We are St. Lucie Public Schools. Welcome at this time is Sophia Yancey, the Teacher of the Year over at St. Lucie West K-8 School. Welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
She's brought with her the very wonderful, dynamic principal who's a great friend of mine, Mr. Joseph Lazo. Welcome, Mr. Lazo.
Glad to be here with you, Dr. Perry and Ms. Yancey. Welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're excited to have this opportunity, Ms. Yancey. As I've explained earlier, St. Lucie County still celebrates educators and education, and this is one of the methods that we use to introduce some of our educators to our viewing audience. With that being said, would you please give us just a little bit of your educational bio?
I'm a proud product of the St. Lucie County School Board system. I graduated from Lincoln Park Academy with the first graduating class in 1990, and I have gone on to IRSC and finished my education at the University of Phoenix online.
Well, every time we have someone that is a product of St. Lucie County, we have to celebrate the school. So go Greyhounds, go Greyhounds.
Greyhounds.
We know they're watching, and it is amazing to us, and because we're excited that one of ours will come back and then share with future generations. So thank you for doing so. Mr. Lazo, a little bit about your background.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Perry. I am also a product of St. Lucie Public Schools. Go Jaguars from Port St. Lucie High School. This is my 22nd year in St. Lucie Public Schools. And to be frank, Dr. Perry, you had the opportunity to bring me aboard, and thank you for your wise decision in bringing me to St. Lucie Public Schools.
I'm glad I was wise back then, so let me make sure I do this too. Go Jags, go Jags. You know, I don't want to get in trouble with any of my wonderful friends that are at these schools. So tell me, Ms. Yancey, how did you feel when you first found out that you were the Teacher of the Year?
Oh, I don't know who was more excited, my kids or I. We found out together in the classroom. Mr. Lazo came in and told us that we had won. And we celebrated together because it's not just about one person. It's about the kids, it's about the school, it's about everybody who put something into it. And I just am lucky to be able to be the person to represent us this year.
So, have you always known that you wanted to be an educator?
Oh, my dad said from birth I knew I was going to be an educator. I was one that lined up all my dolls and taught to them and came home from school and played school every single day, and that was my heart and soul. I always knew, there was never a doubt that I was going to do anything other than education.
When you think about your journey as an educator, reflecting, do you think that there's someone that kind of inspired you along the way?
Oh, I've had many, many teachers that I had myself and teachers that I've worked with over the years here. I've worked at St. Lucie West for 20 years and taught for 10 years there in the classroom, so I've come through across a lot of teachers. as a mentor, I have an assistant principal in mind that was always very good to me and was able to guide me when I was unsure of steps and when I had to stretch and grow. She was always there for me, and that was Lavinia Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just always really good to me and always asked me to do more of myself to become a better teacher, and that caused me to grow and be able to help others grow at the same time.
Awesome, awesome. So, Mr. Lazo, you have the opportunity to see Ms. Yancey at work every day. Share with us your experiences.
Well, one of my experiences that I'd love to see is the instruction that is taking place in the classroom with the students. There's a truly love of learning and teaching taking place. It's very misused terminology at master teacher, because when I entered the classroom with Ms. Yancey, I'm looking at an expert, someone who is truly inspiring her students to go beyond their own reach, utilizing flea maps to write full-on paragraphs in first grade. Where do they do that at? Well, we do it here at St. Lucie West K8 because of Ms. Yancey, and that same model has been shared throughout our whole entire campus, and that is why she was chosen as our fearless leader at St. Lucie West K8.
Cool, cool. So, tell me this. When you think about Ms. Yancey, everything that she's doing, share with us some of those other things that she's doing that makes your campus work.
That is correct. Thank you so much for sharing. Well, first and foremost, she allows us to utilize her as a model teacher. We have, throughout the entire years, several teachers have gone through Mrs. Yancey's classroom to see how instruction should be taught at the depth and the rigor that it needs to be delivered to. Also, she serves as a mentor to so many of our aspiring teachers at our school who are now taking on to their own classroom and just being a perfect role model and a friend to all of us at St. Lucie West K8. So it's a pleasure and enjoyable to have her on campus each and every day.
Being a role model and an example, Ms. Yancey, having an opportunity to share with first-year teachers, what advice would you give to them?
Mm-hmm.
Take it all in. You get a lot of advice from a lot of people, and that's what I share with my New Year teachers, is just go ahead and take all the advice in that everybody is giving you, and then take time to reflect on that advice and feel what works for your classroom. Don't be afraid to try things out, because what works for one teacher or one group of kids might not work for another. And just to take that advice from those seasoned teachers, but yet turn around and make it your own and find what works for you.
You're in first grade.
Yes, sir.
So how do you see what you do preparing students to be college and or career ready?
No, well, kindergarten, first grade, those are your stepping stones. That's where you learn everything. That's where you learn to get along with others. That's where you learn how to keep up with your homework and turn papers in on time and how to work in a timely manner, and all those basics that we really hone in on in the first grade is those are setting children up for the rest of their lives. How to be responsible for what they're doing and how to talk to their parents about what they need and how to respond to teachers with their needs as well. So we're teaching that constantly on how to communicate with others and to be responsible for what you're doing.
As we work through the profession, we continue to grow, we continue to evolve. How do you think you have evolved over the past few years as an educator?
I've been given lots of opportunities to evolve and grow at St. Lucie West K8. They really nurture us in that area so that we can grow and become stronger. As being a team lead, I've had to accomplish a lot of growth in the manner of trying to learn to communicate with others and to work with people who might not see eye to eye, and how to resolve conflicts on a team. That growth alone has just been huge. It's not easy to do when you've got two people that aren't getting along and you have to come in and resolve that conflict. And that's allowed me to grow and see ways to work the team so that conflicts don't happen in the first place and that we can all be on the same page. Growth is something that happens every day if we allow it and if we're looking for those opportunities. And at St. Lucie West, we get that opportunity, and I'm so thankful for that.
Great, great. Mr. Lazo, describe Ms. Yancey for me using 3 adjectives and explain your choices.
One of my first choices is diligent. The work that she puts in the craft is seen each and every day. Truly a timely and professional manner, and the work and the quality of the work that the students are doing is there, so that diligence is definitely there. Other one is passionate. She's passionate about her students. She shows them what it is to understand what learning should look like. She loves working with her colleagues, as she shared. You know, being a team lead is a task that is not one that we take lightly at St. Lucie West K-8, because we're looking for individuals to lead others, and she is truly a leader, and she takes that passion for her craft with her students and her colleagues. And the last but not least, last characteristics that I would love to describe is loving. Miss Yancey has truly embraced me as the new principal at St. Lucie West K this year, and if she did that for me, you should see the love that she receives from her students. That is where I would like to say, the essence of her craft pours out, is the love she receives from her kids and her parents and a whole entire community, our school community, that supports Miss Yancey.
So, Miss Yancey, 3 adjectives from Mr. Lazo. If you had to give me an educational hashtag for Sophia Yancey, what's your hashtag?
Lifelong learner. And if we can keep that in mind while we're doing all that we've got in front of us as teachers and parents and students and administrators, if we can all just keep learning and keep growing together, that's an essence of where we should be and when we're looking at education and how that evolves for us.
Mr. Lazo, what makes Miss Yancey the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
Well, she was selected by her colleagues, first and foremost. It was a selection panel that Miss Yancey overwhelmed them in her presentation, truly came to the interview prepared, ready, and willing to accept the challenge of being not only St. Lucie West K-8 Teacher of the Year, but also a possible candidate for Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie County Public Schools. And we wholeheartedly appreciate all the things that Ms. Yancey does for our campus each and every day. She is truly an essence of a person to be around, and we just love her for who she is.
Ms. Yancey, finish this phrase for me. I believe
that relationships and connections are the basic necessity in education. Without those, we can't get anywhere, whether it's the children to the parents to the principals. It's all, every stakeholder has to have that relationship built one way or another.
So you are now the educational ambassador for St. Lucie West K-8. You may move on to be St. Lucie Public Schools ambassador. What's your message?
Compassion. If we had compassion with everyone around us, and we have that compassion with our students, we have it with our principals, our administrators, our teachers, everyone around us, that compassion would take us so far and build those bridges where the students are missing things, where the teachers need assistance, where principals need to know how we all feel. That bridge of compassion is what I would like to see us work on.
Ms. Yancey, Mr. Lazo, thank you both for joining me and for sharing with me today. Congratulations on your selection as St. Lucie West's K-8's Teacher of the Year.
Thank you, sir.
We are St. Lucie Public Schools. We are accoladed, recognized, accredited, merited. We are innovators, builders, career-driven, future-forward leaders. We are community-focused, partners, mentors, contributors. We are historic, unique, extraordinary, admired. We are champions, energetic, competitive, game changers. We are artists, dancers, designers, musicians. We are diverse, inclusive, collaborative, empowering. We are caregivers, protectors, supportive, attentive. Today's learners, tomorrow's leaders. We are St. Lucie Public Schools.